Alrighty then. Well, we made a little maiden voyage with this car yesterday, and now it's time to tackle a few things that remain to be done to get this thing up on the road and driving. So I've made myself a little list that I'm gonna go through today. I'll show you this and read it off here. Fixed power steering. I've got a power steering leak still remaining, and it's coming from the top there where I put that new line in, and I'm pretty sure I know what's going on. There's an O-ring that fits down in there, and that thing can get kind of turned the wrong way and not seat properly, and I think when I put that together that's probably what happened, so I'm going to tackle that. And then we've got fixed the brakes. Now, the brakes are working, but they're not working well. This has got power disc brakes on it, and one thing, the brakes don't feel right on it. They feel like there's not enough power assist going to it for whatever reason. That doesn't make much sense, because that unit came off of a car that was working fine, so it's not that old. Well, not that long since it's been used, so check into that. And plus, I put the brakes on it, like I said, it's that, and it feels like that maybe either the front or the rear is not working right, because it just doesn't have that power that it should. And I've driven plenty of these with power brakes, and it just didn't feel right. So let's see, we got fix a trans leak. We've got a line that's going into the radiator down here. One of those two down there is dripping a little bit, so I'm going to cure that. Fix the overcharging. Now, these cars are known to overcharge if there's not enough grounds on them going between the engine and the frame, and I had to rob the one off this one for that other car over there, so that's probably got everything to do that. So I'll put another ground on it, and I'll show you that. Fix it, see, adjust the timing in the carb. Like I said, this carburetor and the timing have just been rough set to get it running, so I haven't even ever tackled that, so we'll do that too. Add a return spring. The idle is not always going back to the correct spot, so I'm going to add another light return spring under there. I thought I could get away with just the ones that come with that kit I put on there, but that's not going to be the case. Tighten and replace power steering belt. This power steering belt is slipping some. It may have some oil on it. I wouldn't be surprised if it did, but considering how much problems I've had with power steering leaks with this, but it's just slipping a little bit. See, the way this works, when you rev it up, it's when it's slipping, it kind of just a little bit, and I can't stand that. So it's kind of a unusual arrangement the way that Chrysler did this. They put two belts around the alternator and the air conditioner and the crankshaft, and then they just ran a single belt to the fan from the power steering and the crankshaft. So this is probably a cheapo belt I put on there. So tighten exhaust. I just got a little bit of an exhaust leak up at the front. Turn off the heater. This is the heater valve that's on here, and this is the original probably, and for one thing, it's not in the right place. Why did I do that? I guess I didn't have enough heater line. That's smart. That's real good, dude. So anyway, that thing no longer works. I have to turn it off and on manually, because you can't rebuild them and you can't replace those with the same kind. You have to get an aftermarket. Fix the oil light. The oil light's not working. Just doesn't even come on. Lube it, which I gotta go around the front end and make sure I've zerked everything. Hey Lyle, how's it going? Good. And then I've got to drive it. Alright guys, we'll see you. Bye. Lyle's trying to work it up over there. He's put that Toyota truck that was sitting over there, he's put it up for sale now. He's out there trying to get it to run right. He's just revving the shit out of it. It's flooding. He doesn't understand though, does he? If you keep doing that, that'll fix it. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Come on, Lyle. Put your foot in it. That was only about 3,000. I'm gonna really rev it. Oh, there's a cam in it. Okay, update time. So I removed this power steering line. It's just exactly what I thought was going on. That's the O-ring that's supposed to be in there, and it's trashed because it got caught under there when I was tightening it up. And it goes, as far as I remember, it goes right there where that little lip is, where my finger is touching. And it was a real loose fit. It didn't really fit on there very well, so it evidently just got caught, and so that was a snafu. So I've got my assortment of O-rings up here, but I don't think I have one that fits that one exactly, unfortunately. So I'm not really doing my list in order, but I am doing the list. And so next thing I did is I put my ground strap back on. Right there it goes between the firewall. Come on, I want to hear some revs out of that thing. Come on, really do it. See if it's got a rev limiter on it. You know what Uncle Phil's saying? Get around. So the other end of that just needs to be connected to the block down here, because these cars, like I said, they don't have very good grounding between the engine and the body of the car. Hell yeah. I bet some of you guys would just love to see that footwork, wouldn't you? Oh, ooh, that's pretty good. It's getting it up there now. See, that's fixing it. It's fixing it. Just keep revving it like that. You do that all day and that will fix it. It'll miraculously fix itself with no other intervention. So, the only ground path that this has, you got to remember that your engine and transmission sit in rubber mounts, and they're isolated electrically from the frame of the car, the body of the car. And you have a ground here, which comes from the engine to the battery over here, negative. And then you only have one small little, like about a 14 12 or 14 gauge wire that comes off, and it goes over to the core support. So that's the only ground path you're going to have. So that's why you got to add some grounds and make sure you have that factory ground strap in there. So I did that. So that's going to hopefully fix that charging situation. I turned the heater off. I just simply put that in there and pushed it in. Poor Lyle. So anyway, I'm going to pick up some more 1/2-inch heater hose. I'm not happy with this job I did here. I'm not quite understanding that, why that I guess I was just trying to stick this back together, but this thing's supposed to mount down in there, and I can live with it being manually operated for right now. But got that done, and one thing I wanted to check out is I noticed my oil light quit coming on when I turn on the key. So I checked it out, and turns out my new oil pressure sender switch back here it was a good soundtrack, didn't it? Well, there we go. Is that it? Where is it? There it is. Yeah, I've got that's it right there, and I've got the wire taken off, and I've got my alligator lead on there, and so I checked it with my meter to see if it's got a ground, and it does not. So it's failed open for some reason. So I've got to go pick up another oil pressure switch. Eventually I'll put an oil gauge on it, but I think you should hold it to the floor for about 30 seconds and see what happens. Look at that. Get out of there. Boy, I tell you what, animals will take over shit. Hell yeah. Well, it's getting going over there now, man. Well, anyway. Anyway, that was a laugh, wasn't it? So I got that done, and See, I don't really mind distractions like that because that's pretty entertaining. Because I'm waiting for something to either catch fire or quit or blow up or do, do something. So I went and checked out this carburetor situation, and these are the return springs, and they're a little bit on the light duty side. So I'm gonna put on my test air filter, which is just a small air filter that allows me to get to all the linkages while I'm running it. And I'll check that out more, and I'll update you on that too. And I've been working on getting the horns to work, and as it turns out, I only have one usable horn that works on this car, and that's a high note horn, and that's not going to work because it's either supposed to actually come with a low note or a low and a high. So I only have a high. That's the one that goes. So let me think. Let's see. I fixed the transmission line down there in the bottom. I sealed it up, and I tightened this power steering belt up as tight as I can get it down there. So we'll see how that works out. And that's a new belt too. It's a Gates belt, so I don't know why it's doing that. So remains to do the brakes and tie up that power steering line, put it back on, and tune it. Some other stuff, but I just want to give you a little. Come on, man. Ooh, work it. Yeah. Work that 22 RE. You guys just want to stand there and listen to that? Then we'll tackle the brakes and some other stuff. And I've got a marker light I'm going to put in here too. This one, when this fender got tagged, I guess it cracked it and broke it. So I'm going to see if I can just kind of temporarily fasten one in here, which temporarily, permanently. But I got to be careful because this surface is not flat anymore if I try to really get it. I think what's going on, this bumper got pushed in up here. It pushed the fender in some. Yep. Rev it, Lyle. He's not Lyle the smoker anymore, he's Lyle the Revver. Just listen for a minute, you want to? Let's see what happens over there. That thing's either the cold start valve stuck on it or the temperature switches went bad or something's wrong with it. It's fuel injected as a 22 RE. See guys, this is what I'm saying. I'm not trying to make an example of anybody, but this is what I'm saying, you know. There comes a time when you have a car problem like that you have to actually try to learn how to diagnose it and not just try to control the symptom of it. See, that flooding like that truck's doing, that's a symptom. That's not the issue. That's a symptom. Oh, he lost it. That's a symptom. And too many people try to fix stuff by addressing, you know, dealing with the symptom and not the cause. So, well, I guess that's over now. So, alright, I'm gonna knock her off and I'm gonna go get some lunch, guys. I'll see you in a little bit. Hey guys, well, deja vu. This looks like a familiar sight from 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. 4 years ago, yes it was. How to take your Dart front suspension apart, but this time around we're not taking it apart, we're just doing some diagnosis. You know, I mentioned in the other video that I heard a clunk under here when I hit a bump and stuff. Wasn't supposed to be any clumps because this suspension has all been replaced, every last bit of it. Well, I see I didn't replace my inner tie rods, but I think they were good, so we'll say most every bit of it. The outers and the ball joints and upper lower ball joints and bushings, shocks, brake lines, calipers, pads, everything, so bearings. So whole 9 yards been replaced, so I should not have a clunk. Well, I got a clunk, and you know I'm a clunkologist, so it's my job to find clunks. Well, I found the clunk, and it's something that I remember putting this in, and I was suspicious of whether it was actually going to work out, and as it turns out, it's not. If you look in there, you see that thing with grease on it. That's your idler arm, and over there on that end it connects to the drag link, center link you could call that. That's the tie rod joint there on the outside end of it, and then inside there's another joint. So it's part of the steering apparatus. That part there rotates on a bolt that goes up and down through there. You can see the bottom's got a nut on it and a cotter key. And that just simply goes in with a nut on that end also. You can't see that. Maybe I can put you under there and you can take a look. There it is. So that's that. Okay, that's all well and good, but when I put this together, I remember, wow, confused the camera, didn't we? Come on, camera, get your act together. Look in there, right there. See if I can focus it in here some. Let's see if it'll focus on that. If you look right there, if it actually will focus. Focus, focus. Come on, camera. This camera is terrible. Well, anyway, stupid thing. Got the big game going next door. Anyway, right there where that gap is, there you go. You look there, not the black part, right? Not that part, but right in there, there's a gap of about 1/4 inch in there, and that's not supposed to be there. When I pull on this wheel, that whole assembly moves up and down on that bolt. And I'll see if I can demonstrate it. I got you sitting on the knee, my knee here. Okay, let's see if I can do this. Watch that thing, see what it does. See how much that's moving? It's more like almost a 1/2 inch or 1/3 of an inch, so that's not good. It's not going to come apart, but that's what's causing the clunking. And it turns out, I guess well, you know, that's actually, I think that's a good one. I thought I bought a cheap one, but that's a pretty good idler arm, I think. But what happened is there's supposed to be a washer in there, and either the washer wasn't in there or I was supposed to reuse the old one and I didn't. So I guess I gotta go through all this rigmarole now and find a washer to get it put in there so I can tighten that up properly without it moving around. I think it's tight as it is. So you gotta do that, and then somehow or another the zerk fitting for this ball joint fell out, or somebody who's remained nameless didn't put it back in, didn't put it in. So I gotta get a zerk fitting and put in that. It's got grease in it, just no zerk fitting. Third thing, I've been diagnosing these brakes, and the brakes are not working good on this car. They're not. I can't. You know, I'm suspicious. I thought my power brake booster wasn't working, but I think it is. I think, but I noticed when I was driving this around the neighborhood that it felt like it didn't have very good brakes. Like, so the rears or the fronts were not working all the way. And I smelled burning brake pads too. And I've driven plenty of Dodge vans for work in the past, and I got used to smelling burning brake pads, and I know what that is. That's a stuck caliper. And when I put my nose right up here against that rotor, I smell that same smell of overheated brake pads. So this thing feels to me like it is dragging. It sounds like it's dragging too much. So you know, this kind of pisses me off, because I put all this stuff together and then I let this thing sit so long that it's quite possible this brake caliper is seized up. Because I think I put this on there about 3 or 4 years ago, so it's just barely been used since then. So that would not surprise me that that's happened. So what I'm going to do is, and everybody says, oh, check your brake line. Well, the brake line is fine. It's brand new, was new. So anyway, I'm going to, when I get done with that job in there, I'm going to pull this caliper back apart and see if indeed this piston, which is in here, is stuck. So if I can get it unstuck, that's good. If I can't get it unstuck, or it's not going to keep being unstuck, then I guess I'll have to go get another caliper, won't I? Okay, well, thanks for watching. See you down the road. Okay then, well, I'll wrap up the first work day here and just give you a quick rundown on what I did and what I accomplished and what I failed at. I didn't get around to lubricating it yet. I didn't get around to checking the brakes yet. Went ahead and worked on the power steering leaks. I got one solved and found another one, if you can believe that. The other end of the new power steering line is leaking. The transmission leak is resolved. The alternator is still overcharging, so I guess I'll have to dig into that further. And the oil light is now working properly since I changed that switch. And I got the new marker light put on over here out of my stash of used ones, so that's good to go. All the lights are working. Turn signals work. The horn mostly works. We're still working on that one. And so I bumped the timing up a little bit on it. It was on about 8 degrees before top dead center, so I bumped it up to about 10, and it runs better. It's not quite so luggy right off the line, I guess you could say, but it runs good. It's got plenty of power. The transmission seems to work good. This thing has got airplane gears in it in the rear end. I don't know if they're 276s or 245s. They feel like 245s because I can hardly get it up fast enough to get into high gear. So it's a limited amount that I run. I'm probably getting low on gas, so I've got to run it down to the gas station, put some more gas in it. So I'll do that. But you just barely breathe on the key and it starts, so that's good. Starts right up. And all that linkage I replaced it seems to be working fine, so happy about that. So I'll get on it again in the morning and try to knock out some other stuff. Like I said, I did drive it around some now and kind of getting some ideas about what it's doing, what it needs, and it's actually in pretty good alignment. It's not pulling real bad, but I think I may have something that's well, how do I say this? I noticed I was hitting bumps and pulling in the driveway that there's a loud clunk on the right front over here. And you know, I also noted that it was pulling when I put the brakes on. So I don't know if something got left loose. That's me, you know, I'm as bad as anybody do that. So I'm gonna go in there tomorrow. I'll pull that wheel off and give it a once, twice, and 3 times over and see if something is just like RP could say, wargling around in there that shouldn't be. I don't know what it could be, but I'll check it. Anyway, the brakes, the deal with the brakes, I think, is that the power brakes are not working. I notice if I put my foot on the brake pedal and start the engine, then the brake pedal doesn't sync any, like it's got power assist, and I don't quite understand that because that power unit was working just fine when I pulled it off the other car. I don't know why it would have quit since then, unless it's just simply out of adjustment that it's got power assist, but it's not assisting the brakes, in other words. So I know when I put this all together, put those brakes on it, the master cylinder and the power brake unit, that I left a pin out of it. So me thinks that I've got to go back in there and re-look at that again, re-look at it again. So I'm gonna get that on the list tomorrow too. But heck, man, I like it. It's worth the years that I've spent working on it. So anyway, I know you guys probably more interested in seeing this than you are that Volvo. I was getting burned out on the Volvo myself, and plus everything's wrapped up with it. So it's time to get on this one and get that one wrapped up too, and then you know what that means. We're gonna be on the big blue beast in there. I've already started doing the musty one thing. I've been collecting some parts up for it, so I hadn't forgot about it. I just, you know, I kind of hate to make many videos about something and then stop on it and everybody gets frustrated, including myself. So, all right, well, I'm kind of hot and I want to go in and cool off, and sounds like the party's getting started next door, so time to wrap this up anyway. So we'll see you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Have a good one.